Well, welcome back, and since we came off the air an hour and a half ago, we've had a good many calls on nearly all tonight's cases, and particularly quite a lot of people have recognised belongings on Aladdin's Cave, but more about that later.
Yeah, John Lee is with me because earlier tonight we reconstructed the last days of a young, profoundly deaf woman who lived in Newport in South Wales. Her name was Susan Greenhill. She was last seen alive on the 29th of June. It was a particularly unpleasant, savage stabbing to death. Bill Glynn, you've had, I know, a lot of calls, but anything concrete from them?
Yes, we've had over 100 calls, Nick, and I'm very, very pleased with the calls that we've had. There are a lot of things for us to investigate. However, a lot of the calls have been anonymous. And one of the calls in particular, in fact, two of the calls, but one in particular, we would certainly like the person to contact us.
Tell us about that.
We've had a call from an anonymous female. It was a very brave thing to do, but she's called us and told us that she was indecently assaulted by somebody from a fair.
Is that the fair that was being set up next door or very close to where Suzanne lived?
Presumably so, yes. We would certainly like her to contact us again. We realise that it's a very sensitive thing to do, and obviously we respect her wish to remain anonymous. If she would like to meet either myself or a policewoman, then if she calls us, then we would be prepared to meet her anywhere at any time.
It's hard to stress how important this inquiry is.
Well, it is extremely important. This person has killed once, and obviously there's nothing to suggest that he may not kill again.
What about the second anonymous caller you really want to trace again?
Yes, the second call was from a person who also remained anonymous and said that, in fact, a friend of his was the person responsible for Suzanne's death. We would certainly like him to contact us again.
He's given a name, I gather.
He's given a name.
But that's not enough?
Well, it will make it extremely difficult for us. If he wishes to remain anonymous, then he can do.
But you need, what, height, what he looks like, where he lives, roughly?
Well, if he can give us any more information concerning this man, then obviously it would be very, very helpful to us.
All right, Mr. Glynn, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Well, we've had a good response, I believe, to our reconstruction of the robbery at the Iceland frozen food supermarket in Walton Vale on Merseyside. Late at night on Saturday the 9th of July, the store's manager was woken at home by armed men who handcuffed him and bundled him out of his house. They drove him 20 miles to the supermarket where he was forced to help the robbers open the safe, and they stole about £8,000. Tony Bailey's been taking calls with his colleagues all evening. What sort of response have you had so far?
We've had a very good response. There should be, both in the studio and in the police station in Liverpool. We're checking on a lot of the leads that we've had given. We've had a lot of names given to us, and of course there's still an awful lot of work to be done in relation to the calls that have come in.
Any news on the cars?
Nothing at all at the moment on the identification of the cars, but someone has pointed out to us that a few C-registered cars, a very small few, of 1.8cc.
Also, just have Granada
Yes, 1800, I should say, cc. Right. Just had Granada on them and nothing else.
Right. Could we have a recap on the descriptions of the robbers?
Yes, they're two white males, both about 30, 35 years of age, dark hair, 5'6" to 7 tall, fat to stocky build.
But has anybody come forward to say that they saw the tall, thin manager and the short, fat robber together on those early hours of Saturday the 9th and Sunday the 10th of July?
No, not as yet, and as we showed on the reconstruction, there was some that passed them at that time, and we would love that man to come forward to tell us about it.
Right, there must have been a lot of people around at that time. The nightclubs were just closing, so please do contact us if you can.
John Bly's been with us tonight with a treasure trove of property. In fact, perhaps the best Aladdin's Cave we've ever had, and it seems that some of you have recognised quite a lot of it. John?
Yes, indeed, very good. The musical box, the stick barometer and the tankard and the mug have all been positively identified. So too is this little teapot, these wonderful candlesticks, and of course my favourite table. And now I've been asked to show you again these two miniatures of gentlemen in red coats, and to help you identify them, the bottom one nearest to you is signed and dated 1772. Now, I've just had positive identification on the child's chair at the back, and I've been asked to remind you that all the items here are less than 5% of all the things that have been recovered, and the rest can be seen at the Guildford and Walton-on-Thames police stations.
Well, now there's attacks on elderly women living alone in Surrey and in the north of Sussex. Police asked Crimewatch to help to try to trace a man who had been striking late on Friday nights, and they think he selects his victim by spying on them as a peeping Tom. Inspector George Smith, again, you've had a lot of calls, but how good have they been in quality?
I'm very encouraged. Over 30 calls received here, some 60, in fact, at the incident room, and they have, in fact, asked me to stress that if people haven't been able to get through, please keep phoning, the room will stay open.
We had an artist's impression. I gather you've got a number of names put to that.
Yes, several callers have phoned and says we recognise that impression. But more than that, they've given very important positive information which will require follow-up inquiries in the morning.
But does this fit the profile? Remember, all these attacks, of course, are late on Friday nights, early Saturday mornings. Have people been able to identify people who might have reason to be striking at that time?
That is a very encouraging thing. Yes, they've given reasons why certain Mr. So-and-so could only visit these locations on a Friday night.
And how many of them conform to that FBI psychological profile of a loner, someone who probably lived with someone who is fairly elderly?
Some do, some don't, but as we've stressed, that is only a theory, only a suggestion. If you have a suspect and he doesn't fit that pattern, please phone, we still need to know.
Well, viewers have already given you a lot of work to do, I gather.
Thank you.
OK, Mr. Smith, thank you. Sue.
Well, now let's see what calls we've had for incident desk cases and photocall. Here's David Hatcher again. First of all, did anyone recognise the man or the crossbow which killed Diana Moore?
Yeah, somebody thinks they recognise the man, Sue. Called in to Ealing Police Station and says and given details that match that video fit and the rest of the man's description very well, and we'd like that person to call again, please. We must speak to you. We're sure that you know more that will help us locate him and pinpoint him now. We think he's an Ealing local.
All right. I know we've had many calls on the Canterbury rapist. Did anybody suggest a name for him for that artist's impression we showed?
Again, we've had a number of leads to follow up there with many more names suggested. This was a tragic case of an 11-year-old and 9-year-old girls being raped. We must trace him. If you know where he is or you think you know him, still call us, please.
What about those burglaries?
Yes, over 30 calls there, including 3 police officers who've given names that say they match the video fit and have also been responsible for similar offences in the past, so that could be promising.
Right. And there was a man with too many names to mention, wanted in connection with frauds all over the country.
Yes, again, at least 3 more people since Crimewatch have realised that they too have been conned by this guy, and we've also got what appears to be reliable information telling us that he was sighted in Fordingbridge, Hampshire last night, and that we also think he's now using the name Talbot. Again, if you know where he is at this moment, call.
Finally, what news on photocall?
Well, the Barry Mackay, we were seeking him to talk to him about the murder of Elaine McGee. Numerous possible sightings, including very recent ones. Again, if you know where that man is now, still call, though. And lastly, this woman we were seeking in relation to frauds at Thomas Cook, where she got away with travellers' checks. Again, sightings and possible names of her, including from 3 police officers again, not the same officers, and we may be able to pinpoint her.
Right, David, thank you. We've also just heard that the priceless tapestry we showed on Aladdin's Cave has been identified as coming from a museum in Bolton, so that's good news there too.
Indeed, there's more information coming in right now. That is it, though, I'm afraid, for tonight. The lines here to the studio, well, it's after midnight, so they've now closed, but we'll show you all the relevant police numbers in just a moment. And, of course, you can always phone your local police, or you can write to us here at Crimewatch UK, BBC Television, London W12 8QT. We'll be back in a month from now on Thursday, the 6th of October. Meanwhile, don't have nightmares, do please sleep well. Good night.
Good night.